Alright, so we are going to talk about some concepts in applied mechanics. We'll talk about a free body diagram. From this free body diagram, which is derived from a physical system, okay, and we'll see how we can derive a set of differential equations. Okay, so what is a physical system? So basically, let's say we have an object or a body with mass m, and then that body is moving in a particular direction, let's say x. So they are the coordinates like x, we have this y, and out of plane would be z. So what we can understand that this body has its spring which is fixed to a frame, and that spring has a spring constant defined by, let's say, k. So according to Newton's law of motion, we can write this inertia force on this body is equal to mass times acceleration, where we can write mass x double dot, mass into x double dot. So that is how. So the free body diagram, how to derive the free body diagram. From this is very simple, it's itself. So basically we are trying to investigate the active forces into this physical system. So what we can understand from that, we see that this object with a mass m that is moving in a x direction, it is assumed that it cannot move in the y direction or z direction. It's an assumption. So there are let's say a mechanical boundary condition to this. So obviously when it tries to move in the right direction indicated by x, so its own restoring spring indicated by k will try to pull it back, okay, as we've shown over here. So how we can draw that? So we can draw the force diagram, equivalent force. It would be this k times x, which is a restoring force, spring force, and it could be written as fs. There are some other forces also. When it's trying to move in the x direction, you see that this is the rolling balls over here, so there is a frictional force acting on the body. So that we can also, that frictional force we can model as, and it is again going to stop the motion of this body. So we can write that let's say it's the dampening, the movement is being damped, and it is a product of damping coefficient into the velocity, that is x dot, and we can write it as a fc. So we can then sum. So this is the free body diagram of this object, and what we can write here, the summation of forces. So we'll see that. So that's the first force right over here. We write mx double dot, and then another force is fs, which is k times x. Another force is fc, which is c times x dot, and we equate it to 0. So we can also write it mx double dot, that equals to minus kx minus cx dot. Why? Because these two forces, they are opposing to the force acting on the body. So you see the direction over here, they are all moving in this direction, the body is moving in this direction. So that's how we get this expression. and this is equal to 0, so there is no external force on the body. Let's say we are not applying any external force, so that will be 0. And in a matrix form, what we can write the expression would be, so this is a first order this is a second order differential equations, because we have two dots here, so that's a differential equation of second order. Alright, so we can write here these in the matrix form, mx. So this is the mass matrix, plus we have this stiffness, plus we have this matrix for the damping, x dot, and that we equal to 0. So this is how we can have the free body diagram for the system of a physical system, and based on that we can derive the equation, differential equation, and we'll see now how we can, from this matrix form, how we can obtain eigenvalues and eigenvector. So this is a classic mechanics problem. So let us understand, instead of 1, how we can obtain the expression for the 2, for instance. So let's say we have two masses, m1 and m2, and they have this representation, let's say, and they have these movements x1 and x2 both moving towards right, and the coordinate system in this case will be x, y, and this out of z, and we assume that the movement of this system, physical system, is constant only towards x direction. They are not allowed to move in the y or z direction. So in that case we can have the free body diagram for each objects individually, so m1 and m2. So let's focus on m1 here. So when it tries to move in the direction x1 with its movement indicated by x1, its own force, that is k1, this one, is trying to pull it back, indicated by this arrow over here. So what we can write, this restoring force would be represented by the spring multiplied by the movement, that is k1 x1, and there is another spring over here, and that is fs1. We write it as fs1. There is another spring. So when this body tries to move in the x1 in the right direction, this spring kc will try to push it back, as indicated by this arrow direction, and the value of that force is given by kc times a relative displacement of these two objects, m1 and m2. So m1 has a displacement or movement x1, and m2 has a movement x2. So we'll always follow this convention that we first take x1 and then we take x2, because we are talking about m1. When we'll talk about m2, we'll take x2 first and x1 later. So this force is coupling between the two objects, and the force is called as a coupling force, let's say Fc. Okay. Similarly, we derive the body diagram for mass m2 as shown over here. So m2 tries to move in the right direction x2, its own restoring force, that is this k2, tries to avoid this movement, so it will try to pull it back by the force with the magnitude k2 into x2. At the same time, this kc, which is between the two bodies, it will, when m2 is trying to move towards right, this force will try to take it back, pull it back again. So this is trying to pull it back, this M2, and the magnitude of this force is given by Kc times x2 minus Kc times x1. So as we've seen before, x2 comes before x1, so this is a relative movement. So these two forces are there. Okay. So how to derive the equations of motion over here? So we see that first we write the equations of motion for the object m1 right over here. So we see that m1 x1 dot, that is the inertia force acting on the body m1 x1 dot, x1 double dot, that equates to two forces which are opposing to the movement of object 1 m1. That's why there comes the negative sign for both of these forces, minus k1 x1 minus kc x1 minus x2 in bracket. And we can always simplify these two expressions and equate them to 0. This is the external force that we don't have into action, that's why it's 0. Otherwise there will be external force, then we have to write over here. And then further simplifying this expression, what we are getting, plus kc x1 minus kc x2 and k1 plus kc x1 minus kc. Okay, so this is the final expression that we get. Similarly, what is it that we can do for object m2? Same procedure can be followed. So inertia force acting on body m2 is represented by m2 times x2 double dot, and that equates to two opposing forces as indicated in this diagram, minus k2 x2 minus kc x2 minus x1. And we simplify these two expressions, so we take this to the right side and equate it to 0 because there is no external force over here. So that is how we get this final form of expression. So this is, let's say, equation number 1, this is, let's say, equation number 2. This is how we go. How about we have assumed that only forces due to the springs into these physical systems are active. How about modeling the other forces? For example, these are the rollers indicated over here in this body. So in the free body diagram, there is another force in this direction, because if we model a damper over here, because there is a frictional force, and then we model another damper over here, that's the friction, and there is a damping mechanism. There are losses also due to movement, because these bodies are relatively moving, these bodies are moving relatively to each other. So there is also the situation. So let's call it as a C1, let's call it as a C2, and let's call it as a CC. Okay, between these three. So how we model them? So the force due to this first term over here on the body m1, it will also oppose the movement of object m1. So it could be written as C1 times velocity, and let us say FC1. Then this CC is also in a similar manner the way Kc acted. This damping force or frictional force will also try to oppose the movement of this object indicated by Cc, and the relative movement will be expressed as like this: velocities, difference of two velocities, x1 dot minus x2 dot. We can model this force as Fc1. Okay, and similarly we do it for object m2. So we have this object moving in the x2 direction, so the friction will cause another force which will try to oppose the movement, indicated by c2 times velocity, and that could be modeled as fc2. Okay, and there is this force which is again can be written as cc times difference between the two velocities. Okay, and that will be fc1. Okay, so that's fc, we'll write it as fcc actually, and this is also fcc because c1 has fc1, force due to c2 is fc2, and the force due to cc will be, let's say, fcc. All right, and the magnitude of these forces based on the values of these constants, whether it's for the spring constant or the damping constant, depends on them. So accordingly, if we incorporate these frictional forces, these equations of motions will change in the sense that there'll be extra two terms in these final form. So we can also say that it will be written as plus. So we first added two forcing terms due to springs, then we'll have to add two forcing terms due to the friction, or let's say a damping existing into the system. So it would be written as, let's say, c1 plus cc x1 and minus cc x2. So there are total five terms in equation 1. This is number 1 term, this is number 2, is number 3, is number 4, and that's number 5, and they all equate to 0. Similarly, for object M2, what we can have, this is equation 2. Okay, and we have these three terms, so we'll additionally add two terms due to the friction force. So that would be written as c2 plus cc times x2 dot. Here we have to add the velocity, not the movement, because x1 dot and x2 dot, and minus cc x1 dot. So there are again five terms, 1 2 3 4 5, and they all equate to 0. So this is how this system can be modeled over here. So in the matrix form, we write matrix of mass and multiply it with the acceleration x double dot, plus k is the stiffness matrix multiplied by the movement equals to 0. But since we also added a damping now, or a friction, so what we write here is m x double dot plus stiffness matrix x plus matrix for damping matrix of damping, and it would be x velocity, and that all goes to 0. And so how to expand that? We have to expand, so we write here, so in the case of absence of frictional forces, the complete system will be evaluated by this. Let us understand mass 0, mass m1, because the mass of object 1, this is m2, mass of object 2. So if we assume that both bodies have the same mass, then we can equate this to m1 equals to m2 equals to m. So that's how it goes. Okay, and so let us first write the complete matrices system. So it would be like m 0 0 m, and it would be x1 double dot x2 double dot plus stiffness K plus Kc. How it's coming we'll explain in a while. Minus Kc, K plus Kc, and we'll write x1 x2, these are the two moments, plus now it's time to write the matrix for damper or the friction forces. So we'll first see how these terms are coming over here. So these coefficients, so we first assume that m1 m2 equal to m, then we assume k1 k2 is equal to k. So these are the assumptions in the system. So right here two masses, and the k1 and k2 they are equal to k, and m1 and m2 they are equal to m, let's say. So what are the coefficients? So let's take a look at equation number 1 right over here. So the coefficients of x1 k1 plus kc, coefficient of x2 is minus kc. So that's why we have written here k plus kc and minus kc. And now for the mass 2, or say object 2, equation 2 can be seen right over here. So the coefficient of x2 is k plus kc, because k2 is equal to k now, and the coefficient of x1 is minus kc. So we have written it like these two expressions. Okay, similarly for the friction forces, let us focus on equation number 1 here. So coefficient of x1 dot are c1 plus cc. Okay, so in this case we also assume c1 is equal to c2 is equal to cc, and that equals to c. So that's an assumption, but depends what you want to write. So in this case, if we have these assumptions, so what is the coefficient again? So this becomes c1 plus cc are the coefficient of x1 dot, because we now have to find the coefficient for x1 dot and x2 dot right here, and then we finally are going to equate these two external forces which are set to 0. So the coefficient of x1 dot in equation 1, c1 plus cc, so that we write as a 2cc, 2c, and x2 dot has a coefficient of cc, so we can also write here is a c. Similarly, equation 2 right over here, we have the coefficient c2 plus cc, they are the coefficient of x2 dot, so we'll write is twice c, and coefficient of x1 dot is minus cc. So here we have minus c and 2c. So let us check once again. X1 dot has 2c and x2 dot has minus c, and for the mass 2 we have 2c and minus c. Okay, makes sense. All right, so that's the final matrix form right over here. This is the matrix equation that we can have. Okay, so from this we can derive the eigenvalues and eigenmodes of this system. And so let us say we can write the problem, assign the values. Let's say m is equal to 1 gram. We have the stiffness 1 Newton per meter. Okay, and accordingly we can plug in these values. Similarly, the damping coefficient, let's say 0.001 Newton second per meter. Okay, so these values can be assigned and the problems of matrices can be solved to understand better. So in the next part we'll analyze some complex physical systems, like more objects are moving into the particular directions, and maybe it's a simple movement or in a cyclic movement. So thank you.